Hello everyone, welcome to StraightA. Dawson here, back with another video here today, and we are continuing our NFL recap going into week 6, but recovering over week 5 about all the matchups and how they went with the first week of bye weeks happening, what happened, who was the winners, who were the losers, and who just kind of stayed the same. We'll talk about here today. Hope you all do enjoy the video. Please like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment suggestions for future videos below. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So number one, thanks for the big support on the power rankings, but lately it's getting a lot of traction. I'm not getting a great traction, to be honest with you. Dislikes are actually kind of high because I have trash takes apparently, which is valid. I just do my power rankings a little bit differently in terms of how I rank teams. Maybe I should do a different series where I just genuinely rank how I like my confidence level in the teams. And maybe it's one of those things where I do basically a quarterly review of each team and basically say, hey, fourth, third, second, first, you know, kind of like who are the teams I think are most likely to go and win the Super Bowl with how they are performing currently. So it's like a confidence level thing rather than a power rankings per se. So I'm kind of workshopping that idea this week, so we'll see how that goes. But first game, Bucks, Falcons, very good game, very high scoring, both offenses. Looked like they were chugging along. Baker Mayfield was very efficient. The run game, very efficient, very good. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, still great duo. No one really outside of that. Defenses played well in the extent of it felt like there was always big plays being made, but the defenses were still putting a lot of pressure. They're still making sacks, but it just so happens that the plays that were being made were being overcompensated by the offenses, recompensating for the yardage. Big story this week is Kirk Cousins, 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Damn good. Run game still can't do shit. Granted, it was mostly passing game. Darnell Mooney, Drake London, props to you guys. Y'all fucking killed it. Defense for the Falcons probably was arguably weaker than the Bucks. It almost seemed like the Falcons offense played a 10 out of 10 game. The Falcons defense played like a 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10 game. The Bucks defense played like a 5 or 6 out of 10, but the offense also played like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Defense basically, the offense won the Falcons the game pretty easily. Both these teams are very good contenders. I still give the nod a little bit to the Bucks though, so we'll see. They're both very much divisional, rivals, obviously, but divisional possible contenders as well as wild card. So both of them could very well do it. Jets, they're just looking really, really bad. I mean, I don't have much confidence in them at all at this rate. Granted, it's against the Vikings team overseas, and the Vikings team continues to be one of the most dominant teams. It's kind of crazy that they are currently their worst record the Vikings could have right now is 5-12, and a lot of people thought they would go 7-10 or 8-9. My prediction for that has gone way up for them because I think they do have a harder schedule. Obviously, later on, their division isn't easy. So it's not like a walk in the park. They're not going to just be, 17-0 easy. They're going to have some rough games here, I think. Sam Darnold, I think we saw the first hint of him doing pretty poorly. First game that he didn't do very well. Run game, obviously, without Aaron Jones when he got injured. Just wasn't anything. Jefferson really doing the bulk of the work. So Addison gets involved every now and then. Defense for the Vikings, though, continues to be a great story. They continue to put pressure. Granted, it's also just because both offenses play very, very terribly. Like Aaron Rodgers, 54 throws. And he only got 244 yards off of 54 throws. Absolutely horrid. The run game was nothing. Breece Hall continues to look like fucking trash. Braylon Allen looks pretty damn good, but even then, not very efficient. Garrett Wilson, 100 yards, but off of 54 throws off Aaron Rodgers. That's not very good. So this whole team, despite the yardage and all that looking good, when Aaron Rodgers throwing 54 passes, of course he's going to get some production out of it. Defense for the Jets continues to be all right, so I'm not going to really complain about that too much. Jets, they're out of the playoffs in my mind. Vikings, I'm not going to put them in the number 1 seed conversation just yet, but they are damn close. I'm not going to lie. They are damn close. Honestly, looking at the standings, let's look at the standings real quick. Who else is like the closest? So like Commanders are up there. Man, that's fucking crazy. So, okay. Lions and Commanders are basically like the big teams there with only like 1 loss. Holy crap. The Vikings are kind of dominating the NFC if you really think about it. Like, they don't have any losses, right? So, like, the only teams that have 1 loss are the Lions, who had a bye week, so the Vikings will get a bye week eventually too, and the Commanders. If you told me the 3 top teams in the NFC would be the Lions, the Commanders, and the Vikings this year, I think you're insane. Now, obviously, the AFC is a little bit more turbulent, I think. Oh, no, it's just awful teams. The Texans, I didn't realize they're 4-1. It's kind of a sneaky 4-1. They don't play they haven't played amazingly well. They played fine, but they haven't played amazingly well. It's the Texans and the Chiefs. That's even more disgusting. That I don't even want to look at that. Let's go back to the games. I just don't want to think about that. Oh, that's the wrong game. We gotta go to the Panthers. Oh, come on. Guess I should have just clicked on it. Whatever. Next game to talk about, Panthers-Bears. Panthers came back down to earth. Their offense looked horrible against one of the best defenses in the league. I gotta give them some credit though. Defense for the Carolina Panthers continues to be horrid. I'm not really gonna go through it, but Andy Dalton didn't play well. Chuba Hubbard was efficient, but they just didn't get to do that plan for a while. So, oh well. No one really produced anything. Deontay Johnson was locked the fuck down. Defense for the Carolina Panthers, pretty much zeros across the board. Caleb Williams actually looked good this game. Made some deep throws. Seemed like one of his best games yet. Now, granted, it was against a Panthers defense, which really didn't put any pressure on him at all. He looked very comfortable. So, but this is a good coming out party in terms of like he's coming out party for Caleb Williams. No, I'm kidding. So I'm glad to see that he was doing well. The run game is still efficient enough for both these players of Roschon Johnson and DeAndre Swift. So good to see that they're at least efficient enough to get the game done. DJ Moore is easily a big target. Granted, he had a big catch, so I'm not going to be too swayed on that. Cole Kmet getting more and more involved as time goes on. Like seeing this overall. Defense, again, the numbers may not be overly impressive, though it's like 5 sacks, so that's still pretty impressive. The Bears just still put a whooping to Andy Dalton and the Panthers. So, Panthers out. Like they haven't been in the playoff picture for a while. Bears, I'll put them in a sneaky 7-spot wild card. I think that's an appropriate one. Let's talk about some quite different teams. So, of course, going into this week, before the previous week's games, I definitely thought I was going to pick the Browns over the Commanders here. But seeing how bad the Browns have been on offense and defense, honestly, if their defense was even a semblance of what it was last year, I'd pick them more. But Deshaun Watson's not making big throws. He's doing checkdowns. He's not doing very efficient throws. The run game is just not being utilized because they're getting down so quick. Amari Cooper gets all the targets, but barely produces or barely catches or barely gets a ball he can actually catch. Defense from the Browns, I mean, granted, I won't say this is one of their best producing games, but it's one of the better looking games, despite them getting scored 34 points on. And Jaden Daniels didn't even look like he had to do that much work. He just threw a couple good long passes. He's trusting himself a lot more. The coach is trusting him a lot more. Big credit to him and the Commanders team. Jaden Daniels actually looks pretty damn okay. Rushing wise, Jaden Daniels is amazing. Austin Eckler got involved a lot. Brian Robinson Jr. Obviously still splitting with Austin Eckler, but still very good run game. Terry McLaurin, that's all you fucking need in the passing game. Everybody else is just there for every now and then looks. But also sneaky, and something that kind of made me realize in this game, because offensive line for the Browns is probably one of the best things about that team right now. And the Commanders made it look like a fucking joke. And the Commanders defense, like, I knew it was going to be kind of good on surface because basically putting a bunch of old guys who know how to play football. But, like, there's not much upside for later in the year. So, like, this is a team I could easily see drop off next year, on defense at least. But they produce him. Bobby Wagner, 1.5 sacks. Frankie Louvu, 2.5. I mean, the Commanders, they are legitimately might be the number one seed. If the Lions Lions and Vikings kind of just like collapse, the Commanders actually might be the number one seed. Talking about the other side of the spectrum, number one pick teams, Dolphins without Tua, there's awful across the board. Jalen Wright did have a pretty good producing game without Devon Achane around. How that will look, I mean, they relied heavily on their run game. Devon Achane might be a good buy low. They're on bye this week, so hopefully that gets them something. But they won, so that was something they needed to kind of wait till Tua gets back to stay in the running for things because they're 2-3. We'll see if that happens. Tyreek Hill did get some production, but like not great. I mean, it was a step in the right direction in terms of the receiving game, but not very good. Defensively, Dolphins look fine, I guess, but it's just two awful offenses anyway. Jacoby Brissett finally, I think, getting benched. Drake May will be playing. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson will continue to be the 1-2s here, 1-2 punches. Antonio Gibson did not get the start, so very, very curious there. Demario Douglas, I'm very curious to see how his role actually expands upon in the Patriots offense with Drake May. But both these teams are just going to be bottom teams. Now, I think the Dolphins will have a likely chance of being like a 7-10 type team. Patriots will likely be like a 3-14, 4-13 type team. Patriots defense is fine. Both these teams are just whatever. I don't even want to talk about them. Colts apparently haven't won since 2014 against the Jags. That's pretty embarrassing. Both these teams just, they look so good against each other. It almost makes me think how they've looked this bad up until this point. Joe Flacco threw for 359 yards. Jacksonville defense is whatever, don't get me wrong, but 359 yards is not easy to do, and 3 touchdowns, they look like a fucking god out there. Trey Sermon, obviously taking over for Jonathan Taylor, not great. Receiving-wise, Alec Pierce, again, bigger throws. He's getting those deep passes. He's making the conversions. Michael Pittman and Josh Downs doing all right with Joe Flacco. Defense for the Colts was non-existent. Jags, best looking game from Trevor Lawrence. Did he look better than Joe Flacco? Probably not, but I want to say he did. Tank Bigsby taking over that number 1 role for now. Doing great production too. That's probably what won them the game. Trevor Lawrence looked good, but I don't know if he looked good enough to beat the Colts. Tank Bigsby provided some consistency they needed, so that was really good. Brian Thomas, kind of similar to the Alec Pierce role, played very, very well. Long downs. Christian Kirk also made some big plays to get some big gains, so very, very big credit to him. Defense from the Jacksonville Jaguars was that Trayvon Walker with 3 more touchdowns or 3 more sacks. Fucking maybe that number 1 pick was worth it. After all this time, they got discounted for Trayvon Walker, and actually, they got a good deal. So there we go. Jacksonville Colts. One of them has they're just not going to do anything. I don't think they'll both be missing the playoffs, but who knows? Texans, again, this is not an impressive game from either team. Josh Allen didn't look good. James Cook was doing well, but again, felt like the game script was going against him a lot of cases. Again, the receivers, none of them really benefited from Josh Allen not performing. Bills defense, I won't say it was bad. Both defenses didn't do bad or good. It just felt like they were making stops, and it almost was like grinding to the halt. C.J. Stroud, though, eventually got red hot, and he was just getting the ball downfield. The run game was absolutely nothing, though. But Stephon Diggs basically eclipsing every single the receiving yards of the Bills' whole team. Pretty damn sad for the Bills here. Texans defense, again, they didn't do anything impressive. They didn't do anything bad. It just really came down to which offense could overcome their slump. And the Texans did. Do I think the Texans this was the most impressive win? No, in the fact that I don't think it was a great stat game for them, or it was very impressive in how they played. But it's impressive in the fact they beat the Bills, who have been pretty dominant, which they have 2 losses now, so that does suck for them. They need to kind of figure that shit out pretty damn quickly if they expect to, be contenders. Ravens Bengals, easily the most entertaining game of all time. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, the 1 and 2 best quarterbacks in the league this week. Very entertaining stuff. Derrick Henry, very involved. Zay Flowers, very involved. Mark Andrews and all the other tight ends basically got involved too. So very, very cool to see the Ravens utilizing everything to get a offensive win. Let's not even talk about the defenses. I mean, the defenses, again, have numbers, but really all these numbers came from Joe Burrow not caring about taking sacks and not caring about interceptions at certain points in the game. So I don't really blame the defense or the offensive line of the Bengals here. They actually played decently well. Joe Burrow, red hot. Of course, Evan McPherson missed a field goal thanks to a muffed snap. Sucks to lose that way, but I mean, if you're counting on that, then take that as you will. Chase Brown, Zach Moss. Zach Moss is injured. Chase Brown's taking over committee here. Looks fine. Looks good. I think people are overhyping him, but I think it's fair. Jamar Chase went absolutely banakadonk. If you had him in fantasy, congratulations on your 40 points. Jamar Chase, awesome. T. Higgins, also pretty awesome. Defensively, again, the Bengals just didn't do anything. This is a pure offensive game. Every now and then there will be key stops, but it's pretty much whose offense can score more, and it was the Ravens. I'm going to make a crazy prediction right here. The Bengals will be like 10-7 at the end of the year. I just don't. With how they play, I know their defense is bad, but I think they're going to outscore a lot of teams. Raiders, Broncos, hell yes. An actually entertaining Broncos game because they were consistently doing stuff. Riley Moss, pick. Pat Surtain, pick. Denver Broncos, kicking ass. Denver Broncos, blitzing their ass. Hell yeah. Gardner Minshew didn't do shit. Neither did any of the rushing players from the Raiders here. Amir Abdullah looked okay, I guess. Whatever. Alexander Madison did not do fucking anything. Thanks, fantasy. Brock Bowers did have a pretty awesome catch in the very beginning of the game. That kind of made me sad and then instantly happy because the Broncos were dominating after that. Defensively from the Raiders, they did fine. I won't say they did bad. They just didn't. They got beat by the Broncos. That's all I need to say there. Bro Nix, though, looked calm. Looked good. He's looking better and better more consistently, so we'll see how that develops over time. Javonte Williams, very, very efficient. Glad he's back in the game, kind of in that role now, especially in the receiving game. He's getting a lot more involved. All the other receivers kind of just get the love every now and then. Denver defense, I mean, pick-wise, I mean, you cannot... Patrick Tank, I forgot they got second pick at the end of the game. Fuck. They're just so good. The secondary is so good, and the blitzing has worked out really, really well. Sean Payton must know what he's doing, or defensive coordinator, because the defense for the Broncos team is like doing some work, and the offense is actually functioning. So it's kind of exciting to be a Denver Broncos fan in the fact that our team actually might be kind of going in the right direction. Cardinals beat the 49ers in an atrocious playing game of the 49ers. They made so many fucking mistakes. The Cardinals didn't even do that well. They just made the right decisions at the right time. James Conner just got really efficient runs. Kyler Murray made right decisions. Michael Wilson became, really good for a little bit. It was a very impressive game. The Cardinals also made some very key stops. It wasn't that they were good. They just made some very key third down stops, and I think that's what won them the game. Brock Purdy wasn't looking the best. Jordan Mason, he's about what you expect every week. Brandon Ayuk, finally, revitalization game. George Kittle also very involved. Very good to see those two being the focus points this week. Debo, unfortunately, took a step back, but there's 4 people. Every now and then, they're going to swap in and out. Brandon Ayuk has been taking the brunt of that for the last little bit. Granted, everybody else was injured for a while, so take that as you will. Defense from the 49ers honestly looked atrocious. They got bodied by an O-line of the Cardinals that should not be bodying them, and they just made stupid mistakes, stupid coaching calls, and just didn't convert third downs the way they should have. 49ers are still going to be easily. I can't put them. I don't know if I can put them number one seed conversation anymore, but we'll see. Cardinals, they'll be a fringe, like one of those teams you think that maybe you kind of like at the week 16, week 15, technically have like a 10% chance of making it, but won't. So take that as you will. I'm going to speed through these so I can get done here. Giants, Seahawks. Honestly, didn't watch much of this game because I did not want to see Tyrone Tracy go off. And when I saw his stat line, I cried a little bit because I didn't pick him up off waivers when I thought about it. Whatever. I did watch the highlights, though. Daniel Jones looking one of his best games. So congratulations, Daniel Jones. You didn't look like trash. Tyrone Tracy actually looked pretty damn good. He looked damn good. I don't know if that's going to earn him a role, but that's going to be very, very curious to see going forward. Darius Slayton, without Wan'Dale, has thrived for that role. He'll probably take a big step back once Wan'Dale comes back this next week. Defensively, Giants did fine. Pretty damn good is what I should say, because Dexter Lawrence had 3 sacks, apparently. I didn't even see that. Well, in those highlights, either that or I just fucking dozed off. But apparently, about 6 or 7 sacks on the Seahawks, which is actually damn good. Even Brian Burns got a sack. That's kind of dope. I didn't think the Giants defense was doing that kind of good stuff, especially against like a decent team like the Seahawks. Geno was throwing quite a bit too. Run game didn't get off to anything. I guess the Giants were going up pretty early. Tyler Lockett was the main yardage guy this week. Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf was getting covered. This is a crazy game. Granted, I guess there wasn't many highlights focusing on the Seahawks doing much. Defense especially was getting kind of cooked by the plays that the Giants were making. So Seahawks was a really rough week. You may actually be frauds. I didn't think they were frauds, but maybe they kind of are. One more week will kind of help me determine whether they kind of are. Packers, Rams. This looked like a fun game, too. This is another game I caught on highlights. Packers, I think, are finally kind of getting back in that groove a little bit. They're not going explosion offense, but they're getting back in there. Defense is carrying a little bit. Rams are just struggling offensively and defensively. Defensively, they've been doing that the whole time. Offensively, though, they're just not clicking things together. We'll see how it goes. Jordan Love looked pretty damn good. Josh Jacobs coming back pretty damn good as well. Tucker Kraft, I think, is going to be secretly the main target there. I see a bunch of people dropping him in my leagues. I'm like, gosh, dang it. I have like a top 6 tight end, top 6. In the way of, like, I drafted him. I don't want to just drop him or put him on a bench. Ugh, it's disgusting. Jaden Reed, also very, very good. I knew Dontavian Wicks was not getting involved. I think he was way too over fucking hyped. Listen, I get it. He's going to get involved. He's going to have good weeks. I'm not going to say he's not. But the fact that everybody was so confident that he was, like, the number 2 guy there is crazy, because Tucker Kraft was obviously, to me, like, the number 2 guy. Jaden Reed, number 1. Tucker Kraft. Then Josh Jacobs is going to take a lot of work. So Wicks will get his days, but, man, it's going to be tough. Packers defense was just, again, putting pressure on Matthew Stafford thanks to that offensive line. Matthew Stafford just throwing a bomb single can hit. Kyron Williams was, when he was given the chance, pretty efficient. Blake Corum came in quite a few times too, so we'll see how that dynamic works going forward, 22-23. Jordan Whittington will easily be the number 2 guy there until Puka comes back, after Cooper Kupp comes back. So very, very good stuff here. Rams do look fun to watch. This was a fun game. The Rams were fun. It's just, again, the pocket collapses too fast on Matthew Stafford. Talk about not fun game, though. Cowboys, Steelers. Obviously, this was postponed, but I did catch it. Thank you, Mountain Time. Dak Prescott, I mean, he was just throwing the ball a lot. I mean, that's kind of all he had to do was throw the ball up a bunch of times. Rico Dowdle actually did pretty damn good after Zeke was just not producing at all. Jalen Tolbert decides to be number 1 target here instead of the fucking CeeDee Lamb. Very, very cool twist of the fates. Cowboys defense, Steelers defense both just did fine. I mean, they got sacks. They both got conversions, whatever. They're both played like the defenses we, at this point in the season, expect them to. Steelers played better. Cowboys played a little bit worse, but, compared to last year. I wish they were doing better, but in terms of defensively, but whatever. Najee, not anything special. Najee in the air. Again, the receiving game in general kind of suffered with Justin Fields just not playing very, very well. Now, granted, conditions weren't good, so like take that as you will. It's not like a big deal. Steelers defense really was what carried them, but finally, I think this was their first loss. No, their second loss. Okay. 2 losses in a row then. Cowboys win. Whatever. It's a fine game. Both these teams going to be probably playoff players in like wild card 5 or something. So take that as you will. They're both just fine teams who play decently well. Talk about 2 teams that frauds and play like frauds, but they're not, I guess. Let's go and just talk about Saints. Saints, Derek Carr's injured, so Spencer Rattler will get a chance here. He just didn't look good. He's just throwing up bombs or throwing up passes and seeing if they work out. Kamara tried to get going early on, just they got stopped immediately. Nothing really worked out. Rashid Shaheed had a couple good plays. Defensively, the Saints played really bad in the beginning, and then they started picking up at the end, but then they just let it go. Patrick Mahomes played, despite 331 yards, just throwing the ball up. Again, it's just one of those things where they keep throwing the ball up, and they get in the yards, getting conversions, whatever. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to fucking sit here and slander him. Kareem Hunt actually played a pretty decent game, though. He's just consistently good, so I think he probably is one of the better running backs to be looking at on this team. Clyde will probably get a little bit of work, but Kareem Hunt is getting pretty good work there, and I think he's looking decently good enough where he'll at least be splitting snaps with Clyde. Juju might be Rashi, who knows? Travis Kelce might be Travis Kelce of old. Pretty damn good, cool to see at least. So maybe there's going to be some excitement from this, but this was just not an exciting game. Defensively, the Chiefs have been being carried. They haven't been doing a bunch of sacks or a bunch of interceptions. We're just getting stops, and that's an important part about football. Chiefs are obviously going to probably be number 1 seed. The fucking Saints will be whatever. It's gonna be a tough season. Giants honestly might be sneaky number 7 seed type players for the playoffs. So we'll see. Raiders out. Broncos sneaky 7 seed. Sneaky 7 seed. I don't know. Hope y'all did enjoy. I'll see y'all in the next one.